I have been riding all day. Do you have a place I could stay?
You are welcome to stay the night.
I've been asked a time or two why I did it, why I opened the gate, why I didn't send her along the way every other man in the valley had. I never had a good answer for those people, so I quit trying to give them one. The truth is, I didn't think about it much. A woman stood at my gate at dusk, road-worn and straight-backed, and I opened it. That was the whole of the decision. It didn't feel like a decision at all. Her name was Anie. I didn't know that yet. When she came up the lane with a gray mare and a bedroll tied behind the saddle, and the look of someone who had been riding since before the dew lifted. I'd been mending the east fence when I heard the horse. I set down my hammer and walked to the gate. She sat the mare without fidgeting, and watched me come, and she didn't look away when I looked at her. I asked her what she needed. She said a night's shelter and a safe road, east in the morning, that she'd camp in my barn if that was agreeable, that she needed nothing more and expected nothing. She said it plain. No apology in it, no softening. Just the facts laid out for a man to take or leave. I opened the gate. I'd traded with the Crow for 8 years, since before I had the East Range. Her people wintered near my land 2 of those years, when the grass was good along the Blackthorn, and the elk ran heavy in the foothills. I knew how to read the quality of a person without needing them to explain themselves, and Anie didn't need explaining. I showed her where to water the mare, showed her the corner of the barn where the hay was dry, told her supper was in an hour if she wanted it. She thanked me once. She didn't thank me again after that, which suited me fine. A woman who knows how to receive a courtesy without turning it into a debt is a woman who knows her own worth. At supper, she told me the rough shape of it. The winter camp scattered, her people moving north, her own errand east, a cousin in the trading post settlement at Garner Creek, someone who needed to know the camp had moved. She'd ride back the way she came when the errand was done. 2 weeks, maybe 3. I said that was fine. She looked at me across the table like she was measuring something. I ate my supper. "You don't ask many questions," she said. I told her I'd found questions mostly got in the way. She was quiet a moment. Then she said, "The man at the Double Fork Ranch asked enough for both of you, and the one before him." I didn't say anything to that. I knew the men she meant. Callus Pruitt at the Double Fork had a mouth like a rusted gate hinge, loud and not good for much. The one before him was probably Orrin Dreer, who'd been trying to push the Crow traders off the South Range for 3 winters running, for no reason except that he could. Neither of them was worth a word of explanation. I told her she could stay the night and leave when she was ready. She left at first light. I watched the gray mare go down the east road and went back to my fence. It was 11 days before she came back. I was at the water trough when she rode up the lane, and I thought for a moment she was just passing through and would raise a hand from the road, but she turned up the lane instead. She stopped at the gate and looked at me. "My cousin is sick," she said. "She can't travel yet. I need to stay near Garner Creek another 2 weeks, maybe more." I told her I'd found a place to shelter that wasn't the settlement, so I opened the gate. She stayed in the barn the first 3 nights. On the 4th morning, I told her the second room in the house was empty and had a door she could latch from inside. She looked at me steadily, and I looked back at her. I said I had a cot in the barn if she'd be more comfortable that way. She said the room would be fine. I learned, in that slow way you learn things when you live alongside a person and neither of you talks much, that Anie had her own skills and her own ideas, and no patience for being treated as though she didn't. She set a snare on the South Hill without asking me, and came in with 2 rabbits before I'd made breakfast. She fixed the iron latch on the barn door that had been sticking for a month, because it bothered her to see a thing broken that could be fixed. She spoke when she had something to say, and was quiet the rest of the time, which meant the house was quiet in a good way, instead of the other kind. I hadn't had company in 3 years, not since Clara died, and the ranch got quiet in the wrong way. I'd gotten used to it. I told myself I preferred it. Anie's presence in the house made me understand I had been wrong about that, though I didn't say so. The county agent came on the 9th day after her return. He was a narrow man named Pelch, and he rode a horse too good for him, and wore an expression like he'd been sent from somewhere important. He asked me if I was sheltering a Crow woman on my land. I said yes. He said there had been complaints. I asked from whom. He looked uncomfortable and said from concerned parties. I told him I traded with the Crow for 8 years, and my land had never been cleaner for it. I told him the woman who was staying in my house was here on her own errand, and would leave when the errand was done. I told him if the concerned parties had a legal matter to bring, they could bring it, and if they didn't, they could mind their own business, and I'd mind mine. Pelch went back the way he came. I went back to the north pasture. Anie had heard most of that from the window. She didn't say anything about it at supper. Neither did I. But she looked at me once, and I looked back, and there was something in that exchange that was worth more than anything either of us could have put into words. Callus Pruitt came himself the following week. He rode up the lane without being invited, which I noticed and didn't like, and he leaned on his saddle horn and gave me a long speech about what I was doing to the reputation of good men in the valley. I let him finish. Then I told him the reputation of good men in the valley had nothing to do with him, and everything to do with whether a man kept his word. I told him Anie was a guest on my land, and I didn't intend to explain that to him or anyone else. I said he could come back if he had legitimate business, and otherwise, I'd be grateful if he kept off my lane. He left angry. Men like Callus Pruitt always did. When they ran into a wall they couldn't go around. That evening Anie came out to the porch where I was sitting, and leaned against the post, and watched the sun go down over the Blackthorn Hills. It was the first time she'd come out to the porch without a purpose behind her. "You're going to have trouble with him," she said. I said I'd had trouble with him before, and it hadn't amounted to much. He'll go to others. I said that was his right, and it wouldn't change anything on my end. She was quiet for a while. The sky went from orange to a deep cold purple. A coyote called from somewhere east of the creek. "Why did you open the gate?" she said. "The first time." I thought about it honestly. I told her I'd been trading with the Crow for 8 years, and I'd found I couldn't think of a single thing they'd ever done to me that wasn't straight and fair. And I told her that a woman riding alone at dusk with a gray mare and a bedroll was just a woman who needed a gate opened, far as I could see. I said I didn't know what else there was to think about. She nodded once, looking at the hills. "Old Crowstep told me about you," she said. "When I was planning the route east," he said, "if I reached the Blackthorn Valley, there was a rancher there named Hale, who traded straight and meant what he said. He said I could knock at your gate." She paused. I almost didn't. I thought he might be remembering wrong. Men remember things the way they want them to be. I said I suppose that was true. "He wasn't remembering wrong," she said. That was all she said about it. She went inside, and I sat on the porch until the stars came out. Crowstep. I'd traded with the old man for 4 winters. He'd taught me a few words of his language, enough to get along. When his band moved on the last time, he'd gripped my hand at the gate and said something I didn't entirely understand. I'd looked it up later, in the only book I had that might help, and what I found said it meant something like, "You are the kind of man a road remembers." I didn't know what to do with that. I still don't, entirely, but I think about it. Anie's cousin recovered well enough to travel at the end of the 2nd week. Anie came to me 3 mornings before she meant to leave, and said her cousin was going to ride north with a trader caravan heading that way, and that Anie herself had no pressing errand pulling her back. She said it plainly, the way she said everything. She said she'd found the ranch useful, and the company bearable. She said if I had work she could do, she'd stay a while and earn her keep, and leave in the spring if that was better, or before if I preferred. I told her I preferred she stay. She looked at me for a moment, clear-eyed, straight. She wasn't asking me what I meant by it. She understood what I meant by it, and I understood that she understood, and we were both grown people who had lived long enough to know the difference between a thing said and a thing meant. She said she'd stay. We didn't make much ceremony of it. She moved her things from the 2nd room to the main one the following week, and I moved the cot out of the barn, and we worked the fall roundup together, and split the work evenly, and didn't waste each other's time. In the evenings, she taught me more of the language Crowstep had started me on, and I was a slow student and she was not a patient teacher, but we got along. The county agent came back once more in October, with a different look on his face, and a paper he said I needed to sign. I looked at the paper and gave it back to him unsigned, and told him to tell whoever sent it that the paper didn't cover what he thought it covered, and that I'd be down to the land office in Garner Creek the following week to set things straight. I went, and I did. The clerk at the land office was a young man who looked frightened of his own shadow, but he did the paperwork correctly, and that was the end of Pelch's visits. When I got back from Garner Creek, Anie had mended the roof of the chicken house that had been letting in rain for 2 months. and there was a pot of something on the stove that smelled better than anything I'd cooked in 3 years. I stood in the doorway for a moment, looking at the kitchen the way it looked with 2 people's things in it, and the light coming through the window the way it does in October, low and gold, and the pot on the stove. She heard me come in and looked over her shoulder. "The patent is clear?" she said. I said yes. She turned back to the stove. "Good," she said. "Sit down. It's almost ready." I sat down at my own table in my own kitchen and looked at the woman who had ridden up my lane at dusk, with nothing but a gray mare and a bedroll and a straight way of asking for what she needed. I thought about the gate. I thought about Crow Step, and the word he'd used, and the road that remembered. I thought about Clara, and the quiet that had lived in this house for 3 years, and how I'd been wrong to think I preferred it. Anie set a bowl in front of me, and sat down across the table, and looked at me the same way she'd looked at me the first night, steady and clear, and measuring something. Whatever she measured, I suppose I passed. She picked up her spoon. I picked up mine. That was October. We were married before the snow came, in the land office in Garner Creek, with the young clerk and an old Crow elder as witnesses, and nobody made a long speech about it. Anie wore the beaded bracelet her mother had given her, and I wore my good coat, and when it was done, we rode back up the lane together, and I opened the gate and we went in. Some things you don't think about much. You just open the gate.